Is your home truly protected against the unseen forces that attack while you sleep? Something is happening right now in the homes of thousands. They wake up exhausted after long hours of sleep. They argue violently with family members over insignificant matters. They feel watched in their own bedrooms. They hear inexplicable noises in the walls during the night. They face disturbing sequences of nightmares. They notice objects moving without explanation. Plants wither overnight. Pets stare intently at empty corners and growl at nothing. Children suddenly fear sleeping alone. And most alarming, a growing sense of oppression that seems to suck away all joy and vitality, transforming what should be their sacred refuge into an invisible spiritual battlefield unseen by ordinary eyes. If you feel you need protection, comment now. I am protected by the divine light. This phrase has power. It's the first step in building your spiritual shield. The keys you carry every day are not mere metallic objects. In spiritual tradition, they represent far more than simple instruments for opening physical doors. Padre Pio, the great Italian mystic and saint, known for his extraordinary gifts of spiritual perception, taught that keys are sacred symbols of authority over our material and spiritual territory. They are like miniature royal scepters that determine who or what has permission to enter our sacred space, our home. You've probably never reflected on this, but how many times, arriving home tired, have you left your keys hanging on the door or exposed in visible places like entry tables or wall hooks? This seemingly harmless little habit is one of the main spiritual breaches you may be creating without realizing it. The keys, Padre Pio taught, absorb energies from the places we pass through during the day. They carry with them vibratory fragments of every environment, person, and situation we encounter. When we leave our keys exposed, especially near the entrance of the house, we are symbolically offering unrestricted access to our personal sanctuary. It's as if we are constantly saying yes to any energy that wishes to enter. Through Padre Pio's spiritual eyes, we could see filaments of light and shadow connected to our keys, like invisible threads linking our home to all the places we've been. The ritual of purifying and protecting keys was a practice that Padre Pio secretly advised many of his spiritual children, especially those who felt their homes were energetically heavy or experienced inexplicable disturbances in their family lives. Now I will share this sacred ritual with you, preserved through generations of devotees and practitioners of deep spirituality. To perform this key protection ritual, you will need a small, clear glass container, unionized coarse salt, 3 white candles, filtered or mineral water, and if possible, holy water. The ritual should preferably be performed on nights of the waxing moon, when the energies of protection and spiritual growth are strongest. But in cases of urgency, it can be performed at any time. Begin by preparing your space. Find a quiet place in your home where you won't be interrupted for at least 30 minutes. Clear a flat surface, a small table or sideboard will do, covering it with a white cloth if possible. Arrange the 3 white candles to form a triangle, a symbol of the Holy Trinity and threefold divine protection: Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Before lighting the candles, take your keys in your hands and close your eyes. Breathe deeply 3 times, visualizing a golden light emanating from the center of your chest and enveloping the keys. This light represents your spiritual authority over your home and the paths you choose to walk in life. Now, with full presence and awareness, light the 3 candles, starting with the candle representing the Father, then the Son, and finally the Holy Spirit. With each candle lit, silently recite, "By the divine light that never fades, I purify and consecrate this instrument of protection." Place your keys in the center of the triangle formed by the candles. Then take the coarse salt and form a circle around the keys, leaving a small gap in the circle. This gap represents the door through which negative energies will exit. As you form the salt circle, recite 3 times. All evil returns to its source. Nothing can harm me. I am protected by the divine light. Take the glass container and fill it halfway with filtered or mineral water. If you have holy water, add 7 drops to the ordinary water. Hold the container with both hands at the level of your heart and recite, "Pure water, element of life and purification, cleanse and restore the energy of these keys that protect my home and my family." Quick pause. If you're taking notes, write everything carefully. Don't skip any details. Each gesture you make activates an ancient spiritual force. Now gently place your keys in the container of water, ensuring they are completely submerged. Visualize the water glowing with a light blue light, dissolving any negative energetic residue the keys may have accumulated. Maintain this visualization for 3 full minutes, breathing deeply. After this period, remove the keys from the water and, without drying them, place them back in the center of the triangle formed by the candles. Now close the salt circle you had previously left open. As you do so, proclaim with conviction, "The cycle is complete, the purification is done." These keys are now instruments of divine protection. Let the keys dry naturally while the candles continue to burn. During this time, remain in silent prayer, or if you prefer, recite Psalm 91 7 times, known as the Psalm of Protection, which Padre Pio frequently recommended to ward off visible and invisible dangers. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say to the Lord, "My refuge and my fortress, my God, in whom I trust." For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence. He will cover you with his pinions, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness is a shield and buckler. Psalm 91:1-4 ESV. When the keys are completely dry, take them and hold them firmly between your hands as if in prayer. Close your eyes and visualize an intense golden light emanating from the keys and forming a protective shield around your entire house, sealing windows, doors, and any other opening through which unwanted energies might try to enter. Conclude the ritual with this powerful declaration. By the authority granted to me as a child of God, I decree that these keys are now instruments of divine protection. Only good, light, peace, and prosperity are permitted to enter my home. All evil returns to its source. Nothing can harm me. I am protected by the divine light. So it is, so it shall be. Let the candles burn completely if possible. If you need to extinguish them beforehand, do not blow them out. Snuff them out with a small metal bell or a spoon, as blowing can disperse the sacred energies that have been accumulated during the ritual. The salt used should be collected and dissolved in running water or buried in a garden or plant pot, returning it to the earth with gratitude. From this moment on, your keys are no longer mere objects, but sacred talismans of protection. It is important to keep them always in a discreet and safe place when not in use. Never leave them hanging on the door or exposed in visible places in the house. Padre Pio taught that the ideal is to keep the keys in a small wooden box or a natural fabric pouch, preferably red or white, colors that ward off negative energies. The effects of this ritual begin to manifest almost immediately. Many people report an instant feeling of relief and lightness upon entering their home after performing the ritual. It's as if an invisible weight has been lifted from the environment. In the following days, you may notice a significant improvement in the quality of your sleep, with calmer and more restorative dreams. Arguments and disagreements tend to decrease, giving way to an atmosphere of greater harmony and understanding. Energetically, your home will become an impenetrable fortress against low vibrations. You will be able to feel this especially when returning home after a difficult day or after having been in energetically dense environments. Whereas before, you might have carried these energies into your home through the keys, now they will serve as filters, allowing only what is beneficial and constructive to enter. Another notable effect is the increase in prosperity. As Padre Pio taught, when we block the breaches through which negative energies enter, we automatically open space for divine blessings to flow more freely towards us. Many people witness unexpected opportunities arising in their lives after performing this ritual, as if invisible doors open in synchronicity with the purification of the physical keys. Maria Antonia, a longtime devotee of Padre Pio, shared her testimony after performing this ritual. For months my house felt heavy, as if a dark cloud hung over us. My husband and I argued for no reason. Appliances constantly broke down, and my youngest son had nightmares almost every night. We tried everything from energy cleansings to consultations with spiritual experts, but nothing seemed to work lastingly. That's when a friend taught me this key ritual that Padre Pio recommended. I confess that at first I was skeptical. It seemed too simple to solve such deep problems. But I decided to try with faith and seriousness. I performed the ritual on a Thursday during the waxing moon, following all the steps carefully. That same night, I slept soundly for the first time in months. My son didn't have any nightmares. The next morning, upon waking up, the house seemed brighter, even before opening. The curtains. My husband, who didn't know about the ritual, spontaneously commented on how well rested he felt. In the following weeks, we noticed even more significant changes. Overdue bills were resolved in unexpected ways. A promotion opportunity arose at my husband's work, and even our dog, who had been apathetic, regained his energy. Today, 6 months later, I maintain the ritual monthly and keep our keys in a small cedar box that I keep in my nightstand drawer. We have never again experienced that feeling of heaviness and negativity in our home. Maria Antonia's testimony is not an isolated case. Over the years, hundreds of people who have faithfully followed Padre Pio's teachings on the spiritual protection of the home through everyday objects have reported similar transformations in their lives. It's as if this simple ritual opens a direct channel to the angelic forces of protection that Padre Pio so revered and with whom he maintained constant contact. In the spiritual tradition passed down by Padre Pio, keys represent not only authority over the physical home, but also over life's paths. When we purify and consecrate our keys, we are symbolically declaring our intention to open only beneficial doors on our journey and definitively close those that could lead us to painful or destructive experiences. It is also important to understand that keys, as symbols of authority, are directly related to the solar plexus chakra, the energy center linked to personal power and the capacity for manifestation. When we allow our keys to accumulate negative energies and leave them exposed, we are symbolically weakening this energy center, making ourselves more susceptible to unwanted manipulations and external influences. The ritual I have shared with you restores and strengthens this connection with your personal power. Each time you touch your purified keys, you are reaffirming your authority over your life and the energies you allow to enter your sacred space. It is a simple act, but profoundly powerful in its effects. In addition to performing the main ritual, there are some daily practices you can incorporate to maintain and amplify the protection of your keys and, consequently, your home. Every night before going to bed, briefly touch your keys and recite a simple prayer of gratitude. I thank you for the divine protection that these keys represent and for the safety of my home. All evil returns to its source. Nothing can harm me. I am protected by the divine light. When leaving home, take only the necessary keys with you, leaving the others stored in their protected place. The less exposure to diverse environments, the less energetic charge your keys will accumulate. Once a week, Preferably on Sundays, wipe your keys with a clean white cloth, lightly dampened with holy water or water with 3 drops of rue essential oil, while reaffirming your intention of protection. On important dates in the Christian calendar, such as Easter, Christmas, Pentecost, and the Feast of Saint Peter, renew the complete ritual, reinforcing the protection. If you notice that your home has become heavy again, or that inexplicably negative situations have begun to occur, do not hesitate to perform the ritual again, regardless of the lunar phase. Spiritual protection is an ongoing work, especially in times of such energetic turbulence as we are currently experiencing. Padre Pio, with his extraordinary spiritual sensitivity, could see the invisible interferences that affect our daily lives. He saw clearly how seemingly mundane objects carry powerful energetic charges that can profoundly influence our well-being. Keys were especially significant in his esoteric teachings because, in addition to representing authority and protection, they are also symbols of transition, liminal elements that connect different states and realities. In his mystical wisdom, Padre Pio taught that keys are like spiritual antennas, constantly capturing and transmitting energetic information between the outside world and the interior of our homes. When we leave our keys abandoned or exposed, it's as if we're leaving a sensitive receiver tuned to all frequencies simultaneously, without any filter or protection. Think for a moment about the places your keys pass through daily. Offices with tension and competitiveness, hospitals with pain and suffering, public transport with the accumulated energy of hundreds of people in different emotional states, various establishments with their own energetic charges. Each of these environments leaves a subtle impression, a vibratory mark on your keys. When you arrive home and carelessly hang them up or leave them exposed, you are allowing all these influences to spread freely throughout your personal sanctuary. This explains why so many people feel inexplicably exhausted in their own homes, even after having performed energy cleansings or used other methods of protection. If the breach of the keys remains open, it's like trying to fill a container that has a hole in its base. No matter how much positive energy you add, it will continue to drain away. The ritual I have shared with you seals this specific breach, creating a strong field of protection, not only around the physical keys, but also around the key energy, the energy that governs entrances and exits at all levels of existence. It is a work that acts simultaneously on the material and spiritual planes, creating an impenetrable barrier against negative influences. Many people ask if all this care with something as simple as keys is really necessary. Padre Pio's answer would be an emphatic yes. In his deepest mystical teachings, he frequently reminded that the greatest dangers enter through the smallest breaches. The enemy of the human soul rarely attacks head-on. He prefers subtle entrances, small oversights, seemingly insignificant distractions that, over time, open the way for larger and more destructive influences. In a world where we are constantly bombarded by dense energies and negative influences, every small act of conscious protection becomes a powerful spiritual declaration. Caring for your keys with the reverence and respect that this ritual proposes is taking responsibility not only for the physical safety of your home, but primarily for its energetic and spiritual integrity. There are reports of people who, after adopting this practice, developed an increased sensitivity to perceive energies. They began to notice immediately when they entered charged environments or when they interacted with people who drained their vitality. This is a natural consequence of strengthening one's personal energy field, which becomes more robust and therefore more capable of discerning what is harmonious and what is dissonant in relation to one's own frequency. Another frequently reported benefit is what we might call increased synchronicity. When we seal energetic breaches and declare our intention to open only beneficial paths in our lives, The universe seems to respond with a sequence of meaningful coincidences that guide us in the right direction. It's as if the purified keys begin to function not only on the physical plane, but also as instruments of navigation on the plane of personal destiny. A fascinating aspect of Padre Pio's teachings on keys is their relationship to the biblical tradition of the keys of the kingdom entrusted by Jesus to Peter. In Matthew 16:19, Jesus says, "I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven. Whatever you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." This passage reveals the profound spiritual power associated with keys as symbols of divine authority delegated to humans. When we perform the ritual of purification and consecration of the keys, we are, in a sense, renewing this primordial spiritual connection. We are declaring, as children of the kingdom, our authority to bind and loose energies in our personal territory. It is an act of spiritual sovereignty that transcends the simple care of physical objects. To fully understand the importance of this ritual, we must also consider the spiritual context of the times in which we live. Padre Pio frequently warned his followers about what he called the spiritual storm that would intensify in the last times. He saw, with his extraordinary mystical gifts, a period of great energetic turbulence where negative forces would be especially active and would try to infiltrate through every possible breach in the lives of people of faith. In one of his letters to a spiritual son, he wrote, "Take care of the small details of your spiritual life with extreme attention, for it is through small neglects that the enemy finds space for his greatest works." This guidance applied directly to practices such as caring for everyday objects laden with spiritual meaning, such as keys, water, salt, bread, oil, and other elements that in Christian mystical tradition possess sacramental properties. The ritual I have shared with you is grounded in this deep understanding of the daily spiritual battle, a battle that does not take place on distant fields or at extraordinary moments, but in the small gestures and choices of each day. It is in the apparent mundanity of hanging keys on the wall or leaving them on a table that crucial spiritual decisions are made, often unconsciously. By becoming aware of this hidden dimension of reality and acting in accordance with this knowledge, you are essentially awakening to a deeper level of existence. You are recognizing that every object, every gesture, every word carries a spiritual weight that transcends its material appearance. This expanded awareness is, in itself, a powerful protection against the negative influences that thrive precisely on unconsciousness and distraction. Accounts from people who have faithfully adopted this ritual include extraordinary experiences of seemingly miraculous protection. A lady from Naples, a devotee of Padre Pio, shared how her house was the only one spared in a fire that consumed the entire block where she lived. When firefighters investigated the phenomenon, they found no physical explanation for the fact that the flames simply bypassed her residence. She attributed this protection to the key ritual she had religiously practiced for years, creating what she described as an angelic shield around her home. Another remarkable testimony came from a businessman who faced an inexplicable series of robberies in his companies, despite all modern security systems. After learning about the key ritual from a priest who had been a direct disciple of Padre Pio, he applied the procedure not only to the keys of his house, but also to those of all his commercial establishments. The robberies ceased completely, and he reported that on one occasion, security cameras captured images of robbers who reached the door of one of his stores, but inexplicably gave up and left without attempting to enter, despite there being no apparent physical impediment. These accounts may seem extraordinary, but they are aligned with the spiritual worldview that Padre Pio upheld and taught. For him, the material and spiritual planes were not separate, but in constant interaction. Physical laws and spiritual laws operated simultaneously, and those who understood this interconnection could navigate both dimensions with greater safety and effectiveness. It is important to emphasize that this ritual is not an empty superstition or a magical procedure. It is a sacramental act, a physical gesture that carries and manifests a profound spiritual intention. The effectiveness lies not in the materials used or the words spoken in themselves, but in the sincere faith and elevated consciousness with which the ritual is performed. As Padre Pio frequently reminded, faith moves mountains, but faith without works is dead. The key ritual is precisely this, a tangible work that expresses and strengthens living faith. By performing this ritual in your home, you are inserting yourself into a spiritual lineage that goes back to the early Christians, who used sacred symbols and gestures to sanctify their homes and protect their families in times of great adversity. You are connecting with the ancestral wisdom that recognizes the power of everyday objects when consecrated with pure intention and true faith. Padre Pio, with his stigmata and extraordinary mystical gifts, was a crystal-clear channel for this wisdom. He could see beyond the veil that separates the visible from the invisible and transmit practical knowledge that would help ordinary people navigate the complex territory of spiritual life. The key ritual is just one example of this practical and accessible wisdom that he shared with those who sought his guidance. In the broader perspective of the spiritual battle we all face, this ritual represents a conscious decision to establish clear boundaries and effective protections. It is a declaration that your home is sacred territory, a sanctuary where only the energies of light, love, and truth are permitted to enter. In a world where the boundaries between the sacred and the profane become increasingly blurred, this kind of clear spiritual affirmation is more necessary than ever. Perform this ritual today. Don't wait. The energy around you is already moving. The protection you seek is in your hands now. With a simple gesture of conscious faith, you can transform everyday objects into instruments of divine protection and your home into a true refuge of peace and blessings. Always remember the words that Padre Pio whispered to his closest spiritual children. Heaven is closer than we imagine, and its protections are within our reach, if only we know how to extend our hands with faith. Are your keys, these small metallic objects you carry every day, can be precisely the point of contact between your ordinary life and the extraordinary celestial protections that await to be activated through your conscious intention and your living faith.